Well, good morning, YouTube. All right, it's the next day. We've got a lot more work to get done on Goliath. It's a little bit later than I wanted to be out here because, as you can see, the ground is all wet. It started raining last night shortly after we got to Alicia and Mike's house for dinner, and it hadn't stopped until about half an hour ago. Now the skies are starting to look pretty. I don't know if it's going to last, but I'm hoping it does so I can get some stuff done. My plan was, last night when we left Alicia and Mike's house, I was gonna come back over here. I was gonna move Goliath over next to the store and dump the black tank because we never did at the end of last season, so it's been sitting in there all winter long. And I try to do that after hours at the store, that way I'm not in the way for the customers and blocking a fuel island and whatnot. But with the rain, there was just no motivation to do it. It was just pouring when we came home, and it was late. We stayed at Mike and Alicia's house till, well, I guess 11:30, almost midnight. So by the time we came home, I wasn't gonna come out here at midnight in the rain and try to dump all that. So maybe we'll get it done today. Maybe we'll have to wait till later tonight. I'm not sure. Well, definitely not the topic of this video, but I'm a little excited too. As you see, there's a big Power Queen 200 amp hour battery there. And that's because Power Queen reached out to me and asked me if I would do a review on this battery, so they sent it to me. You guys know I'm really into the lithium iron phosphate batteries for the off-grid systems. I've got two of the large ones in Goliath, and they've been working really, really well for about a year and a half now with my whole off-grid Victron system. So we're gonna find a use for this. And I have an idea of what I'm gonna use it for, at least primarily, and then I may use it for multiple projects. But not today's video. Just want to let you guys know that that video will be coming up soon. All right, with the airbags all aired up, I can climb down here underneath. And you can see we've got the fill plug right there for the differential. So just a 1/2 inch drive extension in there, break it loose, and then you fill this just until it overflows. All right, so right behind me, I've got my 5-gallon pail set up with a little pump at the top. So just gotta route the hose in here, pump it a couple times until it's all the way full. All right, and there we go. She's oozing out. So pull the hose out, plug it off. All right, the front drive is done. I'm gonna squeeze my way out of here and do the second drive. Now the process for the second drive is exactly the same. However, on my truck, the plug is in a different position. The fill plug is actually on the back of the housing, on the rounded dome part where the ring gear would go. But the concept is the same. You pull the plug out, you fill it up till it overflows. Now in this particular case, I pulled the plug out, it automatically started to flow out. I've never had to add any oil to that rear drive. I always have to add a little bit to the front because it does have a tiny bit of a leak. All right, so now we're moving to the transmission. Now the transmission does use a different weight of oil. It's not a gear oil like the final drives do. It uses a straight 50 weight oil, but again, the concept is the same. You've got a drain plug, you got a fill plug, you take out the fill plug, you fill it till it overflows out of the fill plug. All right, so on the transmission, the fill plug is a different style of plug, but again, the concept is the same. Well, now that that is done, I don't think I need to go underneath Goliath for anything else. So I'm gonna move on to checking my wet hubs. And I got the 2 steer hubs, and then all 6 on the trailer have got wet hubs. So there's a fluid oil that goes in there. Now the covers for the hubs have usually got lines on them marked where you can see them. The ones on the front of Goliath are so old, sometimes it's kind of hard to see. Got a light to shine in there just in case. Worst case scenario, you pull out a little rubber cap, and then you can see down in there to see whether your oil level is at the right level or not. Well, it looks like all of the hubs are at just the right level, so we're gonna leave those alone for right now. I do remember I need to top off the oil on Goliath just a little bit. It was down maybe 1/2 gallon or something like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that topped off. That way it's done, and then we'll start moving to airing up the tires. And of course, you know, I'm gonna top it off with Amsoil 1540 Signature Series diesel oil. This is all I've ever used in Goliath since I did the very first oil change on them. Actually, that's not true. When I first got Goliath, the first oil change I did was actually at a like a quick lube place up in New York somewhere, because I didn't know how old the oil was that was actually in it. Just wanted to get that out and kind of consider that like a flush. And I only ran that oil for maybe 1,500, 2,000 miles or so, and then I drained it all out and then switched it to Amsoil. Truth is, I am probably due for an oil change now. I haven't really done a good job of tracking the miles on it. I know it's been a couple of years now since I've done the oil change, but keep in mind, we're not over the road, so we've probably only done 40, 45,000 miles on this oil change. So it's about time to change it, and it'd be really interesting to go ahead and pull a sample when we do it and send it off. I don't have enough oil right now to do it, so maybe we'll order some, have it shipped to Daytona, and do it while we're down there. So it looks like it only needed about 2 quarts. Got that in there, and on to the next step. Well, I took a little bit of a lunch break, and then I went to go grab my tire gauge and start checking the tires, and sometimes the dumbest things happen. So I grabbed the door handle to open the door, and the whole door handle popped out. Door handle works fine. So I don't know if it was jammed, and when I pulled on it, just the whole thing came out. It broke off of the backing plate. That's going to be impossible to find. Well, guys, if you're wondering what that is, I had one tire that had this teeny tiny little slow leak. You know, and the whole time it sat here for almost 4 months, it was down to about 65 pounds or so. So it lost 40, 45 pounds. But this is the one tire that I've always got to top off a little bit, and I have leak checked and leak checked and leak checked. I cannot find where the leak is coming from. So I decided to put a little bit of slime in it. Well, I bought the large bottle, the 32 ounce for oversized tires. But this stuff is so thick, it's so difficult to kind of squeeze out of there. Man, I was getting exhausted squeezing, and then you got to relax a little bit, kind of let the thing fill back up with air, and it was just a nightmare. So about halfway through the bottle, I decided to drill a hole in the bottom, a little bit smaller than my air nozzle, shoved it in there. You got to be really careful, because you can explode the bottle, obviously. But just a little bit of air pressure in there, just enough to make the bottle swell. It pushed everything right into the tire. So much easier. You know, they should build a little nipple on these bottles with a regulator that only allows like 2 or 3 PSI to go into it. Hey, slime, think about it. Sometimes you just got to think outside the box, be a little bit creative. Saves a lot of effort, a lot of squeezing. All right, if you remember in yesterday's video, I mentioned how I run around town all morning trying to find things, had some trouble. Well, one of the things I needed was a new anode rod for the hot water heater in Goliath, and I could not find a new one anywhere. So I think I got to put this one back in for now, and hopefully I can find one on the way, or maybe once we get in Daytona. I just hate to put one in that's worn that badly. I might even just cut it off and just put the plug in. I don't know. And for those of you that don't know what an anode rod is for, well, it goes in the hot water heater, and it doubles as the drain for the hot water heater, and it is a sacrificial piece. So because the water heaters in an RV are generally made of aluminum, the electrolysis can cause issues in there and actually corrode the aluminum hot water heater. So an anode rod is designed to attract the corrosion instead. I know we can get a little more scientific than that, but that's simple terms. This corrodes instead of the hot water heater, but they've got to be replaced every once in a while. And this one is probably 4 or 5 years old. I don't remember exactly. And I think they recommend that every year or two you're supposed to replace them. So I've kind of neglected that. So I definitely need to get a new one. It's almost like a little Florida sun shower. Sun's shining nice and bright, but yet it's raining. Well, I got to playing with the door handle that I broke earlier, and here's the situation with that. The backing to that door handle is actually a plastic. And on the back side of it, there were feet that stuck off of it that had riv nuts, like inserted into them. Not riv nuts, but like nut certs, I should say. And then from this side, the door panel just had these 4 rusty bolts holding it in. These 2 here in this middle, I just added. So what happened was those feet that were on the back of the plastic that the nut certs were installed into, they completely broke off when I pulled the door open. So I chipped the plastic off of the nutsert, and I tried to hold the nutsert with a pair of pliers and then unscrew them so that I could come up with something. And I couldn't do it. They were so rusted together. So I went ahead and sprayed them with some penetrating oil. We're going to let them sit. But no matter what, they weren't going to thread back into that latch. So I went ahead and just drilled 2 new holes, ran nuts, bolts, and washers through them to hold it all together. It's going to have to work for now until I find a replacement. All right, guys. Well, I took a break for a little while, went home and ate dinner. Now it's after 9 o'clock. And David, the gentleman who owns the gas station here, he asked me to wait till after 9 before I dump the tanks. So because when I do it, he said it actually causes an odor to back up inside the store that dissipates pretty quickly. But if people are in there, it's just not pleasant. The store closed at 9, so I'm here. It's about 9:20 right now. We're going to get this done, and by morning, they shouldn't smell anything. But I've also got this little device here. I don't know if you guys can see it. It's just a little inline tank you can put in with your hose, and you can fill it with bleach. Another vendor friend gave this to me. I guess he invented this thing, and so I'm going to put this in line. I'm going to pour about a cup, maybe 2, of bleach in there, and when I turn the water on to fill the water tank, it's going to put some bleach in there. I can run it through all the lines, sanitize the system. And I'll drain all that back out into the black tank once I dump the black tank. And then I'll fill it with some fresh water one time after that. And everything should be nice and clean and ready to go. I'm not really going to show you guys in great detail on this because no one wants to see poop going through a tube. Well, son of a biscuit eater. I even winterized Goliath this year. I drained all the water out. How does that corner right there break? As soon as I turn on the water, now I've got bleach water spraying all over the inside of the house. All right, so because of that broken copper fitting, I'm not gonna be able to fill my water tank, but I went ahead and pulled the dump valve for the black tank, and I've just got the hose running inside now, filling the black tank. I'll do that a couple of times and dump it. Always something, guys, always something. That's why I hate this last minute getting ready. All this stuff really should have been done weeks ago and tested, and I just got behind schedule, like always, like always. All right, guys, it is the next day, and I'm up at Lowe's. Gotta get some parts to fix the plumbing. Thought maybe I'd have some, but when I got done with what I was doing last night, which turned into a cluster screw, by the way, I was just tired and beat, so I finished dumping the tanks, and what I did is I ran the hose directly into the toilet in order to fill the black tank to get the flush, since I couldn't run it through the actual plumbing system. So I ended up tripping over the hose once, pulling the hose out, sprayed it was like an episode of National Lampoons. But it wasn't funny. It wasn't funny at all. Anyway, this morning I checked. I don't have what I need to make that proper repair, so I'm up at Lowe's to get what I do need. All right, I'm really hoping that all I need is a little shark bite 90-degree elbow. It's bigger than the actual sweated on elbow that's in there, so I'm hoping if I just cut it back, maybe this will work. Fingers crossed. All right, guys, luckily my plan to cut out the elbow that was busted and just put that 90-degree shark bite in there, it worked perfect. So then I moved Goliath over here. I hooked up the hose and went to go start filling again. And guess what? I heard water spraying. I found another little section that had a split in it too, just a couple inches away from that. But it was on the back side. So when I looked at it, I didn't see any issues there. Luckily, I was able to cut this section out. I removed a whole nother little section here where this is where that other elbow went. I disconnected that elbow. I was able to kind of bend the pipe over and connect and just bypass this whole section. And it looks like it's fixed. Right now it's filling. There's no water spraying. Once the tank is full, I will check the rest of the plumbing. So this is really just for filling the tank where this problem was. Once it's full, I can shut that valve off and then pressurize the whole system. And then I can check for all my faucets and everything else. Hi guys, I think you got it all taken care of. It's about 6 o'clock now. I'm gonna go home and get some dinner, but Goliath is ready to roll. All the mechanical issues are fixed, the plumbing issues are fixed, the tank is full, all the plumbing was checked, everything's clean inside, trailer's in order other than loading the motorcycles in. yeah, everything is good. So tomorrow we just got some personal things. Got to bring up the bikes, you know, put in our clothes, our groceries, stuff like that. We'll be ready to roll out. But I guess we're going to end this one here. Tomorrow we'll start a whole nother video as we head to Daytona Beach. So good news is, guys, the season is starting, and from here on out, you'll probably end up with daily videos like we usually do during events. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Until the next time I see you, keep those engines running.